Hello, my darlings. It is Friday, which means another music theory lesson. Now, I went over um, this week the construction of the major scale, and I feel like I explained it fairly well, but I will just explain it once again. The major scale is consisted of 7 tones, 8 if you include the octave, and there's a formula to construct a major scale, and that formula is whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. And when you have the note that you want to start on, let's say G, because that was the first example that I used in Tuesday's lesson, talking about developing your technique using 1 octave scales on 1 string. So G. Now, I've also explained in that video that music is comprised of a series of whole steps and half steps, and when you look at it on a fretboard for a guitar, a half step is 1 fret apart and a whole step is 2 frets apart. So yeah, we start on G, we start on the open G string, and then whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half, starting from that G. So whole step up from G, 2 frets up from the open G is A. Whole step, another 2 frets up, that's B, the 4th fret on the open G string, or the 9th fret if you're starting on the 5th fret of the D string, or the 7th fret of the E string if you're going on the E string, or the 2nd fret of the A string if you're crossing strings. But anyway, we got your starting note G, and then first whole step of the equation is A, second is B, and then the half step, 1 fret away, is C. Then we have the second half of the scale, which is whole, 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 half. So 2 frets away from C is D, 2 frets away from D is E, 2 frets away from E is F sharp, and 1 fret away from G, 1 fret away from F sharp is G. Now that formula works for every note. Every major scale is whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. And no matter what your starting note is, like I explained in that Tuesday video, it will work out as such. Now, I also want to continue with our counting lesson from last week. Last week, I discussed whole notes, half notes, quarter notes, and eighth notes. Now, we know that in a measure of 4/4, because I just want to keep it simple with the counting so far, a whole note is one note that takes up a full 4/4 measure. So 1 whole note equals 4 beats. 1 half note is a subdivision of the whole note, and the half note equals 2 beats. It's a subdivision of the half note, so you split the half note in 2, and you get the quarter. Quarter note is 1 beat per note value. And then the eighth note is 2 beats to a quarter, so in one measure you have 8 eighth notes. Oh, the next subdivision underneath that, the eighth note, is the 16th note. So you take an eighth note and cut that in half. So wherein you would have 2 eighth notes to the quarter, you have 4 16th notes to 2 eighth notes, which is 2 eighth notes to the quarter. Now, counting, there's a bunch of different ways to count out, these note values. I'm going to tell you the way that I count it out, but there are other ways to count it out that are easier. So the whole note is 1, 1. The half note is 1, 3, 1, 3. Quarter note is 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Eighth note, I count those out as 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. With 16th notes, I count those out as 1E and 2E and 3E and 4E and 1E and 2E and 3E and 4E and. Remember, all of this is under the constraints of the 4/4 meter. Now, I would be doing you an injustice if I also at this point didn't explain to you the triplet. Now, a lot of people tend to get the triplet confused with other groupings of 3. Now, a triplet, now I'm on thefreedictionary.com explaining triplet. Okay, triplet, a group or set of 3 of one kind. Basically, triplet in music can be viewed as the same as a triplet birth. So, if you had triplets go against one beat or one set of note values. So if you have a series of, if you have like 2 8 half notes, if you don't want to play those 2 half notes, you could play 2 sets of quarter note triplets. You have the quarter note going against the half note, but you're squeezing 3 quarter notes into the half note instead of 2. The triplet always takes the subdivision of whatever the note value, the largest note value is, takes the immediate subdivision of that, and you squeeze 3 of that subdivision into one beat. So if you have a half note, the triplet would be 3 quarter notes. If you have a quarter note, the subdivision would be 3 eighth notes. If you have an eighth note, the triplet subdivision would be 3 16th notes. Just like if you have a whole note, the subdivision triplet of that would be 3 half notes. It's not that commonly used. Now, the half note triplet, at least I haven't seen a lot of it. You'll see it the most in classical music. Now, the reason why I say people get this confused is because I've heard people call all other groupings of 3 notes to a meter triplets when they're really not. One of the most common things that people call triplets is the 1/8 note, 2/16 note gallop. You hear that all the time in Iron Maiden's music. I mean, listen to the Trooper, just sit down and listen to the Number of the Beast. The Trooper, Run to the Hills. It's that pulse that sounds dun da da 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 dun. That's not a triplet. It's 3 notes in one beat, but the subdivision is an eighth note and 2/16. Triplets is 3 of the same note value crammed into one beat. So if you see something like an eighth note and 2/16 notes, which is probably the only other most commonly seen groupings that people would call triplets, whether it be like the gallop, or you have a 16th note, an eighth note, and a 16th note. So an eighth note sandwiched by 2/16. That's not a triplet. Triplets have the feel of dot 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 dot, depending on what the note value is. But more commonly than not, you're going to see eighth note triplets and 16th note triplets. So the note value in those 2 instances would be quarter and eighth note. Quarter for the eighth note triplets and 16th notes for the eighth notes for the 16th note triplet. In the eighth note triplet, I usually count them as 1 enda, 2 enda, 3 enda, 4 enda, 1 enda, 2 enda, 3 enda, 4 enda. And that's how they're going to feel like. Da 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 da. A gallop is going to feel dunga da 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 dung, like a horse galloping across a plain. The other note value that I told you, the eighth note sandwiched by 2/16 notes, it's going to sound like da 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 da. It's basically taking a 16th note, and the 2 16th notes in the middle have a tie, basically turning them into an eighth note. So galloping is not the same as triplets, and we will get more into what separates triplets from all the other note groupings later this week.